This is the regular meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, July 11th. Please stand for our invocation by Pastor Mike Sternad and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, let's pray. Well, Heavenly Father, we pray for this meeting today. We all want a city that's safe, family-friendly, thriving, and flourishing. One Mobile. Thank you for our mayor, the council members, the staff, and their heart and their hard work for the city. And we pray for wisdom, direction, and transparency as they discuss the topics for today. So we pray for this time. Bless this city. In Jesus' name, we all said, Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, President Gregory.
Here.
Vice President Richardson.
Here.
Councilmember Manzi.
Here.
Councilmember Small.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good to have you here. We have some special guests in the audience this morning that we want to recognize. Some interns that are here with us today with the YES program. If you all would stand and be recognized. We also have some members here with the Youth Council that we will be meeting with a little bit later. So Jean, why don't you all stand up? And we also have a very special Boy Scout who was here with us this morning. I've already embarrassed him once, but I feel like I need to do it again. So William, why don't you come to the podium and introduce yourself?
My name is William Rosser. I'm a Boy Scout in Troop 28. I'm 14. I go to St. Luke's and I'm a Star Scout.
And you are working on your next badge, correct?
Yes, ma'am, for
And part of-
citizenship in the community.
So that's why you had to come to the meeting today.
Yes, ma'am.
And for those in the audience who don't know, who's your dad?
Guilty.
That would be the council attorney, Jim Rossler. Well, thank you, William. We're glad you're here. Congratulations on your work toward getting your Eagle Scout. Again, thank you all for coming. It's great to have a good group in attendance today. Our council rules are very simple. We just ask everyone to please turn off all of your electronic devices. If you come to the podium to speak, you will have 5 minutes. At the end of 4 minutes, you'll hear the buzzer, and that's your indication that it's time to begin wrapping up your comments. Please give us your name and address for the record. If you have questions or comments, please address those to me. I'm the chair, and I will ask the appropriate member of the administration or the council to address those concerns at that time. One other person I need to recognize, and I almost missed him because he's standing up at the top, and that is one of our former colleagues, William Carroll. William? All right, with that, I will turn it back over to Ms. Lambert.
Approval of minutes of July 5th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Communications from the mayor.
Well, good morning. Glad to see everybody here this morning. Our first order of business is to recognize our Officer of the Month. So I would ask Officer Jesse Saluda and the Chief to please approach the podium and face the council while I read from the proclamation. Before I do so, just for everybody's information, Jesse is the son of a policeman and the grandson of a fireman.
Wow.
And so when he said he thought he had two choices. He could either be a fireman or a policeman. And so at this point in time, he's a policeman. That's not to say that he may not be a fireman in the future, but anyway. So we're delighted that he's been recognized today as the Officer of the Month. In early June, Officer Saluda noticed unusual behavior by a driver while on routine patrol. He pursued the vehicle, but before turning on his lights, the driver pulled over. She claimed to have vehicle problems, and a background check discovered 5 outstanding misdemeanor warrants and 1 felony warrant. A search of the vehicle resulted in the location of methamphetamines and loaded Smith & Wesson 9mm handgun with a dozen rounds of ammunition. The driver was arrested on the outstanding warrants and drug charges. The same day, Officer Sluter responded to an area and noticed a man wanted for domestic violence, specifically strangulation. He made contact with the suspect, who advised that he was in possession of meth also. Last month, he answered 113 calls for service, backed 62 calls. He had 18 felony arrests and 27 misdemeanor arrests. His initiative and enthusiasm are tremendous assets to the city. On behalf of all Mobilians, we now award Officer Sluter with this certificate for Officer of the Month, June 2017, with our sincerest thanks. Congratulations.
Thank you and congratulations. Appreciate your hard work.
Would like to point out that I think everybody is aware that we have gone to single stream recycling, which means that you can bring your recycling product to the dumpster locations without having to separate the glass from the cans and from the paper. The new location is at the city's Western Administration parking lot, which is at Langham Park, across Museum Drive from Mobile Museum of Art. That facility is open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. You know, our vision is to create a robust recycling program while eliminating litter throughout the city. I would say that, just to remind everybody, when we recognized that what we were doing was not working when it came to recycling, that was evidenced by the fact that we had a diversion rate, meaning the tonnage of products that were being diverted from a landfill into the recycling system. Our diversion rate was 6%. The national average is 34%. With that in mind, we decided that what we needed to do was make it more convenient. By being more convenient, that meant more locations. So today, this is the second location that we're opening, and we hope to open one in each of the city council districts to make it more convenient for all of our citizens. There's a very important vote coming up by the Solid Waste Authority affirming this action, which happens tomorrow at a public meeting. We're hopeful that they will vote to affirm the contracts necessary to continue in this recycling program. And then next week, at this time, the City Council will have an opportunity to vote to endorse the contracts that we have to continue this program. So thank you very much for being here today.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Lambert.
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Appeals, we have requests for waiver of noise ordinance on September 8th, September 9th, and September the 10th in Spanish Plaza Park, and September 12th, I'm sorry, September 2nd, September 3rd, and September the 9th on Burton Wood Drive.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. David Massey.
Ms. Rich, thank you. You brought me here today. Council, I just want to thank you for looking into the matter of the traffic situation on Cottage Hill Road.
Mr. Massey, would you give us your name and address just for the record?
I'm sorry, David Massey, 2279 Moss Creek Court in Mobile. The traffic situation from the Inverness entranceway on Cottage Hill down to my entrance at Moss Creek Court. In the short time that I've been living here in Mobile, Alabama for 3 years, I saw 11 accidents. One, as you all know, recently was a fatal motorcycle accident in regards with racing another vehicle. I understand from Ms. Rich that there's going to be a traffic device put up on Cottage Hill in both directions. Hopefully that will alleviate some of the problem, and I would like to thank Mr. Batiste as far as his patrols and certainly helping the city financially with some tickets and violations. As a matter of fact, I think someone wrote A.J. McCarron's wife the other day on Cottage Hill. Hopefully she'll be able to have to pay the fine and not get a warning. But again, I thank you for your consideration in looking into that matter as part of the Moss Creek Court Homeowners Association, as well as the next development down. Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Massey, we have Mary Beth from our Traffic Engineering Department, who is here today to provide you with some information you may already know from Mrs. Rich, but we wanted Mary Beth to come and talk about a little bit more in detail what the city is doing.
Thank you.
If that's okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much
you.
for being here.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mary Beth Bergen, the Assistant Traffic Engineering Director for the City, 852 Gale Street. We have been looking at this for several months now. The conversation first started around Pesnell Court, which is just to the east of Moss Creek subdivision. We are in the process of gathering our materials to put some road signs up with solar flashers, similar to what we were able to do in Mr. Joel's district on Cottage Hill further down the road, with a flashing light warning you of an intersection. Because of the embankment, it's difficult to see. And then as you get closer to Mossy Creek, we are going to be putting up a curve sign with another flasher on it as well, and some chevrons through the curve. It warrants that as well. Through the other direction, westbound, it's not as bad. Most of the crashes have been happening eastbound. So we're not putting the flashers up westbound, or eastbound, excuse me. We are only putting them up westbound, but that should be happening as soon as we can gather everything that we need to do it and get it put up and in place.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Rich, did you want to?
No, I just want to thank traffic and, of course, the traffic division of the MPD. They were out there and did a real concerted effort, and I think they ticketed quite a few citizens, and speeding is the main culprit. If people would go the speed limit, which hopefully this kind of signage will put them in a position to realize that they're putting themselves and others at risk by violating the speed. And I think we still need to keep up our concerted effort to make sure that people understand that we're serious about going the proper speed limit in an area that is highly congested and also is a downhill, and for that motorcyclist, and I'm truly sorry for his loss, but he was literally racing another car, and that did not have to happen. So it's just, but I think it's kind of puts people in a sense that they pick up a lot of speed in that downhill, trend.
We did review the accident history for the last 3 years, and if it was not the primary cause, it was a secondary cause, was speeding.
Yeah, so that's something where we have to put that responsibility on the end user as well. Thank you.
Thank you,
so
Mr.
much.
Massey. You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Madam President,
Mr. Richardson?
somebody, go ahead.
Well, I was just going
Mr.
to add
Daves?
my voice to Mrs. Rich's voice. As Ms. Bergen indicated, we had a same kind of problem on a section of Cottage Hill that is east of this one and in District 5. It's really people speeding as far as I can tell. Cottage Hill, you go up hills and down hills, and it makes these curves. And what happens a lot of the time is people get going way too fast, and then they don't notice or can't navigate the curve. And there was one individual who was killed in the section in my district, and a number of accidents that occurred. And there's a traffic light there, and that one really stopping them. And so we've with traffic engineering, working with my office, we were able to install this light, and I think we've had that in for 6 months or so now, Mary Beth, and I haven't heard anything from the residents lately, but it goes back to speeding, and if folks would just take it easy along Cottage Hill, they would perhaps save their own lives and certainly save injuries and lives of other people. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Richardson?
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, thank you. Councilman Manz and I, we've already appeared before the South Alabama Regional Planning Commission regarding how they allocate their money. We found out that they have spent over $120 million last 20 years widening streets west of I-65. They have spent 6 east of I-65. So if you keep on widening the street, we've watched them widen Cottage Hill Road, University, Hillcrest, Coda, Schillinger, get ready to do McGregor, on and on. You're going to drive traffic your way and you're going to have more complaints. We have less complaints because they're not spending the money on our end to widen our roadways to make it better for our citizens to drive. It's all going that way, and people are not stupid. Why would they get on the little 2-lane drive when they can get on a 4? So you're asking people to go that way, and then you complain when they get there. So I'm saying the way to stop some of that is widen some of the streets on our side, and they won't have to rush out that way.
Anyone else?
Yes, Madam President.
Mr. Small?
Yeah, some of that my fellow councilman, fellow colleague, Councilman Richardson said is true. But I do have issues in District 3 where we do have neighborhood streets where there's speed to avoid traffic along major thoroughfares. One of the problems that I have in District 3 is speeding along south end of DIP. Many of the residents know that there are not that many police patrolling traffic, policemen out there on DIP, south end of DIP, so they're speeding, which I have 3 major schools on the south end of DIP, which is BC Rain, Pillins, and Gilliards, and I have many citizens always talking about and preaching about the speeding along DIP around the Staples and Clubhouse Road area. From my understanding, that first precinct don't have a 1 radar gun, but I'm going to ask the administration if they can just look into more as in traffic resources for our policemen, especially focusing on the first precinct, which is in District 3, because we need more radar along the DIP area and especially other neighborhoods off of main thoroughfares. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Madam President.
Mr. Manzi?
Since we're making requests, I'd be remiss if I didn't make a pitch for the citizens in the Detente Square area. We've got a meeting set up first part of August with traffic engineering relative to stop signs. They've repeatedly made requests for certain areas to have additional signage, and for one reason or another, that request has been denied, and I'm asking the administration to work with traffic engineering to maybe lend a more considerate ear when we do meet, so that we can stymie some of the traffic and the speeding that we are getting complaints about in the Detente Square area.
I think if we polled all of the council members, we have multiple times reached out to Chief Batiste or traffic engineering to ask for some kind of support for speeders, stop signs, traffic lights, you name it. And I appreciate the chief and Mary Beth and Jennifer and everyone working with us, because I've got some requests in as well. In fact, I got an email back from Captain Jackson just the other day. They have done some testing out in Magnolia Village, and they came back and said, yes, there was a speeding problem, so they will be sending motorcycle officers out. But I also have Spring Hill Avenue. When school's not in session, it's almost like a freeway. So I have already sent in the request to get some motorcycle coverage out there, because we really just want to get in people's minds that you're not supposed to act like this is the Daytona 500. You need to slow down, go the speed limit. It's only 35 miles an hour. People were going 50 easily this morning. So a good way to get some tickets, and as people like to say, they're just out there making revenue for the city, but if it'll slow them down, then we're all for that. So just thank you for all that you do. We appreciate your help. Anyone else? All right, let's move on. Ms. Lambert.
Ariana MacArthur.
Okay. Can you tell us what?
Sorry. Resolution 31-411.
Which is?
Which is the resolution regarding the grant for the port security.
Oh, okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ariana MacArthur, 3065.
Can
you speak up?
Lift it.
Yeah, lift the microphone up.
Okay.
Sound better?
Yeah, just speak up, because the sound system in here is not as good as we'd like it to be.
Okay. So my question is just regarding the agenda item.
One more time, your name and address for the record.
Ariana MacArthur, 3065 Finley Avenue. So my question is about agenda item 31411, about the grant for securing the port. And I just wanted to ask for a clarification about, one, the matching funds. Maybe I missed it in the budget, but could we just clarify where did the matching funds come from? And then two, just for myself and the people of Mobile, how exactly are we securing the port, and how is that money going to be used to increase security on the port?
Okay. Since this is something from the administration, I'm going to ask Director Barber, you want to take this one?
Yes, this is directly related to the cruise ship terminal and the cruise ship appearance in and out of the port. And so we secure that on the water side with a police boat. The current one that we're using is a very old 26-foot whaler. So part of the money would be capital funds to replace the police boat, as well as some safety equipment to go along with that. The matching funds locally would come from the police capital budget. The second item also that's in there is to pay for overtime and salaries for officers that will secure the port terminal, as well as paramedics and firefighters.
Thank you.
All right, okay, thank you.
Resolutions held over 01224 and 21225 authorize agreement for the acceptance and processing of source-separated recyclables with Emerald Coast Utilities Authority, and authorizing a contract with Amwaste LLC for the rental of equipment to collect and transport recyclables.
Move to hold over 1 week.
Second.
All right, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
09407, reallocate monies from Capital Project Lad People's Stadium turf repairs in the Alabama Municipal Trust Fund to Capital Project Lad Stadium renovations and repairs.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
21408, amend contract with ACOM Technical Services to provide additional engineering services for Baltimore Street drainage rehabilitation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, Madam President.
Mr. Small?
This resolution is to amend the contract for the engineer and design of Baltimore Street. We know that Baltimore Street is one of the worst streets that's left in the district. We had number 1 Ann Street, District 3 Ann Street is totally rebuilt, and we had the rest of Ann Street was good due to the mayor and his administration, his council, which we can ride smooth on. But Baltimore Street is another street that we're not riding smooth on. We're riding and bumping on it. So this contract is to amend the engineer design to go ahead and, amend the contract, for $15,000, but we can go ahead and do the completion of this engineer design for Baltimore Street, which we're looking to have complete very soon. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
21409, authorized contract with Thompson Engineering for Crichton Fire Station construction materials testing.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Richardson?
Madam President, as you know, the construction of the new Crichton Fire Station is underway. They have already completed the underground utility process. They're in the process now of laying the slab, and each time they get started, it rains. They need one dry day. If today is the one dry day, they probably will lay the slab today, but they can't get going with framing it until they get the slab down, and this weather is not cooperating with them. But I suspect by the end of this week, the slab will be down and they will start the framework. So we are watching that close. The citizens are ready for this new station. It's going to reduce response time in several communities when this fire station is built. We're looking forward to it.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
21410, authorized contract with Southern Earth Sciences for 2016 Paygo County Commission Districts 1 and 3.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
31411, authorize the mayor to apply, accept, and receive funding from the Department of Justice Port Security Grant.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
37-412, approve the application of Derek Tucker, doing business as Derek Taxi and Transportation, for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to operate a taxi sedan service.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Consent resolutions being introduced, 37-415 through 58-416.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of resolutions 37-415 and 58-416.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
37-415, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor license for Chipotle Mexican Grill on Airport Boulevard.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
58-416, declare weeds noxious, group 1564.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
CIP resolutions being introduced for the first time, 21-417.
Motion for the suspension of the rules for immediate consideration of resolution 21-417.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
21-417, authorized contract with Clark Greer Lathan and Associates for Sanger Theater Cooling Tower Replacement Structural Engineering.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Announcements.
All right, I'm going to start with Mrs. Rich today.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, this Saturday, I'm excited to announce the grand open ribbon cutting of the Playground Express out at Medal of Honor Park, which will take place at 9 a.m. We already have children playing on it because they could hardly wait to get back onto that facility, and it's new and improved, and just really want to welcome the community to that playground, which was already a well-loved and well-used facility, but they'll see so many new changes. And again, that's this Saturday, July 15th at 9 a.m., and we'll be in the gazebo where we'll also dedicate the wall and all the help that we got from the community to get those hand tiles on. So please get that on your calendars and hope to see you there. The Public Safety Committee meeting will take place next Tuesday, July 18th, and that will be at 2 o'clock in the Council's conference room. The Public Safety Committee will take up the Citizens Police Advisory Council, and we've invited each of them to attend to give us their information about their progress to date and any information they wish to share with the committee and the council. I would appreciate if, again, they were given a call to remind them of that meeting. I understand they were called a number of weeks ago to urge them to be in attendance. And so, again, if I could ask the clerk's office to call each of those members so that they're present. Another topic of discussion will be the body cams, and we will be discussing the policy and procedure, and we expect that our police chief or his representatives or whoever interplays into that will be present along with our public safety director, and I urge citizens that are also interested will have an opportunity to address the committee as well. And again, that is next Tuesday, 2 o'clock in the council's conference room. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Small.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to remind the citizens that on August the 6th, which is a Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m., is the District 3 5th Annual Back to School Rally. We plan on having plenty of fun, as always, plenty of food, games, and of course, school supplies. We are asking and seeking for more sponsors. So far, we do have the Uniform of Us, which is planning on giving out free uniforms, and also the Port City Second Liners. Again, this will take place on Sunday, August the 6th, at the Pleasant Valley Road Shopping Center, which is on the corner of Highway 90 and Pleasant Valley Road, from 3 to 5 p.m. Inviting all the citizens of District 3 to come out. We're going to have a great time as we've done for the past 5 years. And remember that District 3 is the place where things are happening. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, and Mr. Williams?
Thank you very much, Madam President. First of all, I'd like to thank all the organizers of the, I'm not going to steal the thunder, Mr. Manzi, of the event we had on Saturday morning in Africatown. An amazing event I am still paying for. 5Ks is much longer than it used to be, and it especially is when you run a mountain of a bridge. And so I know that Mr. Manzi will fill us in on a few more facts with that, and I just thank all the organizers there. Had some other things I wanted to talk about, but Madam President announced at the very beginning of our meeting that we had a colleague in the audience. He didn't just come by to say hello, and he's a very busy person. And my question to the administration: has anyone, with regard to the reason that Mr. Carroll is here, has anybody in the administration been in direct contact with Mr. Carroll regarding his concerns? Chief or
I'm going to let
Barber?
Director Barber take that one, because I know you all met with William earlier.
I did. We met from about 10 o'clock to 10:30 about the concerns he has specifically with his residents as well as his neighborhood. And I can tell you that also Chief Batiste came in on that meeting as well. We have heard his concerns. His concerns are legitimate. I'll say that. And we've been corresponding with Precinct 1 as well as the major field operations for a response back from them on what is taking place in that area as well as what Mobile PD tactics are being used.
Okay. Thank you very much. The last thing is another question to the administration. This one's more of a financial nature, and as we enter into this budget cycle, there are some things that are that have a time limit on them. One is a letter that I sent both to the President of the Council and to the administration asking for a response from the administration and our Finance Committee with regard to a one-time payment or one-time bonus to retirees from our system in accordance with the state law. And I just kind of wondered where we were with that request.
Mr. West, do you want to take that or get back with the councilman?
The administration has not taken a position on that yet. I believe the expiration date of that opportunity is in September.
Mr. Williams?
And I just remind all that are listening that even though that we go into budget cycles, and just because a deadline is out somewhere, we get to the deadline and we act, and we find out that we can't act because we didn't put it in the budget. So these things all go together. Our retirees deserve better than they have been treated in the past. And as Mr. Richardson often says, when he talks about things that are dear to him, I'm going to be the voice crying for a long time, and as long as I'm here, for retirees. If we don't treat our retirees properly, current employees and ones deciding whether or not to be employed by our city are taking note. And we get what we pay for. If we take care of our employees and we take care of our retirees, they have no reason but to do everything that we ask and more. And so I think it's a very important subject, and I hope that we will address that soon so that we can tell them now, soonest, what it is that we're going to do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Richardson?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President. I'm happy to report that the 3 Mile Creek Greenway initiative is doing fine in spite of all of the rain. If you go north on Stanton Road, when you get to 3 Mile Creek and look to your left, you will see that the Greenway is looking good. I think the contractor on the Greenway he has gotten sophisticated in trying to put down the walkway. Mm-hmm. That is, he recognizes that it's usually rain after 12 o'clock. So he starts early in the morning putting his concrete down. Where the other folks, you know, they mile around, get up and eat. By the time they get going, they start pouring down on them. Oh, no. These guys are out there early in the morning, and they have done a good job in getting ahead of the rain. So if you go by and take a look, it's in District 1. It's right at the Tricentennial Park. It's over to the left of the park. So I am very satisfied with how that is going. To the citizens in Trinity Gardens, the longest street in Trinity Gardens is Main Street. Main Street starts at Stanton, at Pritchard Avenue, at Stanton Road and Pritchard Avenue. And Main street runs all the way to I-65. It's a long street. It's going to cost more than $500,000 just to resurface it. However, in working with County Commissioner Marcella Ludgood with her pay-as-you-go funds, the contract has been approved to resurface all of Main Street. So I want the citizens in Trinity Garden to get ready and be patient, because in milling the street, it's going to discomfort some of the people who are riding on the street on a regular basis, because they're going to have to block it off to mill it and then come back with the resurfacing. For the citizens on Old Government Street, we're going to get to you. Be patient a little longer. We will get to you. It's one of the worst streets in the city, Old Government Street. Hope is alive. We are coming your way. For the citizens on Grand Boulevard, tomorrow we ought to open up the bid to correct the flooding on your street. The bid's already in. We'll open them the 12th, tomorrow. And from that, the city would have to pick a contractor. From that, they're going to come out there and stop the flooding on your street. So it's not as long as it was. We can see the end of this cycle. Be a little patient, and they're going to correct the flooding on your street. I want to say just a little bit about crime, especially during the election cycle. We hear more and more about that, and we have a lot of finger pointing on who is it, who is responsible for crime. I can tell you up front who is responsible for crime. Criminals. Whoever committed the act, that's who is responsible for it. The issue is it something that we can do to stop a criminal from committing a crime? But if you don't know who it is, I doubt if you can stop him. But if I knew who it was, I believe I could. If I had some idea who it was, I believe if we can't determine the cause, then we can't determine who it is unless we know. We can't put an end to crime unless we know what's causing crime. It's just like malaria. Malaria is killing out communities, whole communities, because they didn't know what was causing malaria. They discovered it was mosquitoes. They sprayed the area and that was it for malaria, because they found the cause. What is the cause of crime? Why are people committing these crimes? That is what we're going to have to find out. And if we as council members had that information, we could take it back in the community and get some involvement from the community to try and help put an end to it. And what I recommend is that when we take a look at all of the criminals that we have had this whole year, we need to come back and say that the average criminal was 20 years old. If we knew that, the average criminal didn't finish high school, that's going to be helpful. The average criminal did not have a job. That would help us. The average criminal dealt in drugs. That would help us. Give us something to go on. If we had that kind of information, we could take that back to the community and we would have some idea what to look for. We read about the criminal. We don't know nothing else about the criminal. We don't even know why they committed the crime. If we had more information, we can get more people involved. The last thing I want to say is the Zachary Act forbids the council members from interfering in administrative matters. Matt Stimson is in charge of every police officer, not the council. I can't dispatch a police officer anywhere. If you call me, I have to do what you do, call the police. I can't dispatch one. They don't work under my authority. They're all working under the authority of Mayor Stimson. I'm not taking no hit for no crime now. Taking no hit for no crime. But I would love to get the community more involved if I had something to carry to them, but I'm not going to get them all worked up when there's nothing I can do, and there's nothing they can do either. I'm not calling no stop the violence when I don't have nothing to stop the violence with. get them all worked up like I can stop the violence, and they're going to come back and accuse me. You claim you could stop the violence, but you didn't. I can't stop no violence. I can't stop the violence. That's all I want to say, Madam President.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Mr. Daves?
Thank you, Madam President. I have 3 short items. One is I had an opportunity once again yesterday to go up and look at the new federal courthouse, which is rising very rapidly up on St. Joseph Street. It's going to be an ornament to our city. I was appointed to serve on what's called the Art and Architecture Committee for the courthouse. With every new federal building, there's a certain amount of money set aside for installed art. And we were meeting with one of the artists who's going to be working on a piece of art for the outside of the building. There's another artist working on art that, for the inside of the building. And I really believe that when that building is finished, it's going to be, as I said, an ornament to the city, both inside and outside. It just didn't spring up there by itself. It took a lot of work over a long period of time to get it and get it right. And I think the people of Mobile are going to be very proud of it when it finally gets built. Tomorrow I will be at the Child Advocacy Center, visiting with them. Our Child Advocacy Center and its leader, Pat Guyton, have done a just absolutely marvelous job of working in the weeds year after year for a number of decades. And I look forward to my visit with them every year about this time. Finally, I wanted to mention Airport Boulevard. We have 2 really large projects going on for Airport Boulevard. The first is the project that's been in for some time to let the traffic lights talk to each other better. And
that's a good way of putting it.
That's been long in gestation, but Mary Beth, I think we're closing in on it, aren't we?
Mary Beth is here.
And so we're keeping our fingers crossed. That's about a $700,000 project to try to smooth traffic along Airport Boulevard. And the other thing we're doing in this pay-as-you-go plan is County Commissioner Connie Hudson has set aside $1 million to resurface Airport Boulevard with the main drag of it. This won't handle the service roads, but the main drag between the interstate and just past McGregor Avenue, McGregor Azalea. So once all that work gets done, we're hoping that the road everybody hates to get on will be a better travel for all of our citizens. Thank you, Madam President.
All right. Mr. Manzi.
Yes, Madam President. Thank you again for this opportunity. I want to start with some of the lighter items in District 2 this Saturday. We held the inaugural Africa Town 5K. Wonderful event. I want to thank ALDOT, Mr. Vince Calametti. I certainly want to thank the members of the Africa Town Community Development Corporation, also ARC Terminals, and everyone associated with sponsoring this inaugural event. It was well participated in. We had 399 participants. And as it was said at the event, that if I had registered, I would have been number 400.
That's a lot.
I do want to I want to acknowledge my colleague and his wife and John Paul. They all participated. Councilman John Williams from the Great Fourth District. They all participated, and they all finished in a wonderful time. And I'm appreciative of all of the efforts going on to facilitate a more harmonious relationship between the residents and the business community in the Africa Town community. I think this was a great event. Hats off to Michael Mitchell Jr., Donald Mitchell, Mr. Cleon Jones, his wife, to everyone who worked so hard to put this great event on. I applaud you. And I look forward, hopefully, next year to going across the bridge in my own way, in my own unique way.
In your own car.
In a car.
Well, somebody's got to inspect the bridge before they run across it. But I did play a pivotal role. After, you know, you run so hard, across such a high elevation, you are in need of hydration. And I was there with plenty H2O for all of the runners and walkers. And again, John, thank you for coming out.
He also serves and only stands and waits.
That's right. That's right. It's a wonderful event. I also want to talk about Ann Street. Councilman Small referenced earlier that Ann Street on his side has been rebuilt, and that's true. It rides real well. Ann Street on the District 2 side from Virginia on has been resurfaced. And I've been getting emails and phone calls and text messages, and a newspaper the other day sent me a video of them riding down Ann Street from Virginia on to just tell me how smooth the ride is now. And I'm appreciative of Nick Amberger, appreciative of everyone working with the city, working with us to make this happen. That cost about $170,000 out of District 2 CIP funds. That's directly resources coming from the penny sales tax that you all pay each and every day working for you in District 2. And we look forward to deploying that same strategy on streets like Calmes, Cherokee, William Street, Old Government Street, Glenwood. There are a lot of streets, particularly in the areas closest to where Districts 5, 2, 1, and 4, and 3 all meet, that are in that same condition. And until we have the resources necessary to go in and totally rebuild, it's incumbent upon us to make certain that the ride is as smooth as it can be until we can get the approximate $2 to $2.5 million needed to totally and sufficiently rebuild these streets. So I'm appreciative that we move forward, and I think this is a win for everybody. I'm glad that my predecessor has rejoined us, former Councilman William Carroll. I received a couple of emails from him this weekend, and I understand that he is irate. I understand that he is upset. If I were in a similar situation as he, I would be equally as concerned and equally as irate. But I also have talked with our Chief of Police, Chief Lawrence Batiste. I've talked with our Public Safety Director, Jim Barber. They have assigned foot patrols. They have assigned closer police patrols. And they have also agreed to join me next week in having a meeting with the residents impacted in that community so that they can answer any particular questions that he might have, his family might have, or any of his neighbors might have as it relates to how they will respond to the uptick in crime in the Oakley Garden District. I want you to know, citizens of District 2, that I am equally concerned. I get calls at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning about different things that happen, not only in Oakley, but across our district. And I take those calls and I funnel them to where they need to be funneled, which is our police commander. I wake him up many times in the middle of the night because if I'm up, if a resident is up, then I believe they ought to be up. And they're the ones capable and competent and qualified to be up to respond to any concerns that you all might have. I'm here, I'm listening, and we want to be responsive to those concerns. And I appreciate his diligence. I appreciate the passion that he's expressed because I would be expressing the same concern and passion were I in that same neighborhood. I'm hopeful that he might be able to join us when we meet. We're trying to pinpoint a location, which is probably be All Saints Episcopal. I want to confirm a firm date, and when that's confirmed, my office will be mailing a letter to all residents in that area, letting them know that our police chief, hopefully, and our public safety director and our police commander will be in attendance so that you can ask them directly, can let them know your concerns directly, and that they can be in a position as our public safety experts to answer your concerns directly. And I want to be there also to make certain that however I can help from a legislative standpoint, if there are ordinances that we need to tweak, there are ordinances that we need to introduce, if there are strategies from a legislative standpoint that we can move forward aggressively and affirmatively with, I'm certainly committed to doing that. And that's not just for our Oakley area. That's a standing invitation from any community in District 2 that is experiencing similar issues and feel that we need to get the higher-ups in our police department in the community to hear from you directly. That concludes my announcements, Madam President.
All right, thank you. Some announcements in District 7. I have a meeting set with the residents in Ravine Woods next week, next Thursday at Spring Hill Baptist Church at 6 o'clock. We will be meeting to discuss some crime activities in that neighborhood. Chief Batiste has been invited, the Assistant Chief, as well as Director Barber and Captain Jackson have all been invited to come to speak about this. We are experiencing a rash of break-ins throughout the city, and I think that's usually fairly common during the summer months. But these neighbors have been hit over and over again, so we're holding a meeting with them coming up to discuss some things that they can do and just make sure that all of their answers and their questions are answered and concerns voiced at that meeting. And so, Chief, I hope you can be there as well. We've been talking a lot about resurfacing and widening and things like that. We've got some work going on in District 7. If you drive down Ziegler Boulevard, you have undoubtedly seen the work that is underway there. We are currently grubbing and clearing the area there so that all of the utilities can move their lines. Right now it's primarily AT&T and Mobile Area Water and Sewer. This will last for about another year before we see actual construction on Ziegler. But that's the good news. After at least 15 years or more, we are finally seeing construction set to begin on Ziegler Boulevard for that widening, so that's really good news. We have Pago resurfacing coming up. It was mentioned that Commissioner Hudson and the County Commission is helping to pay for some work within the city, and those will be the pay-as-you-go resurface streets. People who are looking forward to having their streets resurfaced will soon get a letter alerting them to the fact that we will have crews in the neighborhood, so that's great news. Some of these streets have been in dire need for a very long time, so I'm excited that we're able to get those streets resurfaced, and many thanks go to Commissioner Hudson for making this possible. We also have some drainage work that will be starting very soon on Schillinger at Airway. As soon as the work actually begins, we will be putting out alerts to let people know, because we're going to have to close one of the lanes, and I know that's going to cause some traffic backups, but that's the only way they'll be able to do the work. So as soon as that starts, we'll let you know. The first order of business will be for them to move some of the utilities. So we'll put that out as well. Market in the Park continues at Lovretta Park. It goes through July 27th. All the fresh fruit and vegetables, arts and crafts at Lovretta Park from 3 until 7. It's a great opportunity to go over there and experience really a lot of the local products that we have in this area. This afternoon, I'll be out at Langen Park as part of Alabama Hip Hop Week. We will be at Langen. All kinds of things going on. I have a flyer here. We've sent it out in our newsletters. But this afternoon, a lot of kids' games. The DJ dunking booth will be there. I'm just hoping that Dirty Dan will be in the booth so we can do some dunking with Dirty Dan. So I'll be out there this afternoon. We're also supposed to have some games going on between area DJs and the police department, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that's all about. But I'll be out there this afternoon as part of the Hip Hop Week. So one other thing I do want to mention, I was able to attend a very special silver anniversary over the weekend on Saturday. One of the pastors in a church in my district was celebrating his silver anniversary at the church, and I was very happy to be a part of that. He even let me come on stage and speak a little bit, and he teased me about my last name, because I think, as most of you know, I go by Gregory, which is my maiden name, instead of my husband's last name. And so the pastor took an opportunity to really poke fun at us about that, and even got Todd on stage to tease him as well. So it was a great night. I had about 300 people there, so a good opportunity. Just congratulations to Pastor Payne for serving in that church for 25 years and the leadership that he has brought. The church has grown from 200 members to almost 1,400 in the time that he's been there. So any other announcements, Mr. Davis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If you don't mind, I would like to come back to something Councilman Richardson mentioned during his comments, and that is the need to ascertain what is causing crime, because it's a lot cheaper to figure out what the causes of crime are rather than deal with the aftermath of crime. And so I applaud that effort 100%. I think it goes without saying that unemployment is one of the major causes of crime. And so you go back a step. What causes unemployment? And one of the major things that causes unemployment is kids not finishing high school. The critical time is 9th grade. If they can having been a 14-year-old boy, I know what it's like to be a 14-year-old boy, and it's a very challenging time. A lot of kids drop out of school when they're around 9th grade. If you can keep them in some program past 9th grade, the chances get better and better that they're going to end up graduating, and then they'll be able to find a job. And that's why, before I joined the council, I co-chaired with Beverly Cooper the Mobile Area Education Foundation's 80-20 initiative, which was to get to the point where we were graduating 80% of the high school children on time, college or career ready, by 2020. And the school system has made tremendous progress in that going forward. But we as a community, not just the city council, but we as a community need to work harder on keeping kids in school until they graduate and making sure when they graduate they have the skills to either get a job or go on to higher education. Thank you.
Madam President.
I think Mr. Richardson was first, and then I'll go back to Mr. Small.
Let's just say that information was provided to us, that the average criminal never finished high school. We can get the record and find out where they are and who they are. And we can go get them before they commit a crime. I don't have any of that information. We don't have to sit there and wait on them to commit a crime. If I know who that is, we can go knock on the door. So mama and daddy, it is likely that your child is going to commit a crime because of lack of a job. We can take them to Bishop State or wherever, get them some skills and let them go get a job. I don't have any of that information. We don't have our own school system. If we had our own school system, we would know exactly who they are and where they are. It's a county system. We only get the kids when they commit a crime. But if we had that body of information, we can go and do something about that. I don't know who it, I don't have any information about who these criminals are. So it's nothing, our hands are tied. Good.
Mr. Small?
Thank you, Madam President. For the younger generation, some of those questions are easy to find. All thing we have to do is just go to the youth center and talk to Judge Naiman, about the youth crimes that's in the neighborhood. Crime is on the rise, in all due respect to my former council member, Carroll, but just not only in District 2. I mean, his neighborhood is in District 3, if more than just in District 7. It's across the city, and it's up on the rise. With due respect to Chief Baptiste, it was rising before he even took his chief position. We have to see what we was doing before and what we're not doing now to see why this crime is going up. Is it because we don't have the jump out boys no more? Is it because we're not having the roadblocks no more? Many people have complained about, the time it takes for a roadblock, but if it takes 20 seconds out of my time to do a roadblock, a car check, to save a life, I think it is worth it. And I'm called upon and plead with the mayor and the administration to look deeper into this because, we're talking about having the friendly city, the safest city by 2020. This is 2017. We don't have but 3 more years to go. So we need to look in depth with this. So I'm pleading with the mayor and with the public safety director and the chief of police to look deeply into this because I have citizens that are scared to even go outdoors past 5 o'clock in the afternoon and the sun is still up. We have to address this, and we have to address this soon because we're here to draw people into the city. We're talking about, the lack of jobs. There are jobs here in the city. I had a community meeting a couple weeks ago where Bishop State came out and they was talking about the jobs that are available, the training that they have, but there is an issue why, some of the people are not qualifying or getting these jobs. And that's something that we have to address. And whatever it takes for my vote, to address this situation, I am willing to vote for that today. really yesterday, because this is time out for all the crimes that we have going on in the city. Thank you, Madam President.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Williams?
Thank you very much. Madam President, I ask everybody to take a step back. It's obvious why we have a law that says that the City Council doesn't meddle in some things, and why our law is set up so that is prohibited. We're making a bunch of speculations up here, and I think we need to be careful at all times, speculating what is or what isn't happening, what is the level of crime and what isn't. The fact is, Mr. Carroll's house was broken into. We know that, and we know that crimes are committed every day. But we need to be careful in how we categorize our city and where we are with dealing with crime. It is just like floods. The flood's not bad flood until the flood's in your yard. We understand that. And I think nobody is more qualified in this room than our chief of police to make sure that we're in the right position to do what we need to do, and I trust him without reservation. And anything that our chief brings to us and asks for from this council, I am certain that he will get it just like any other chief has for as long as this council has been in place and for as long as I've been on the council. So I think we all need to just take a step back, be careful with our comments, and do all that we can do to support our chief of police as he gets us to the safest place for our city. Thank you.
Mrs. Rich?
Thank you very much. When I heard the name Judge Naaman, it occurred to me that I was at a meeting yesterday evening where he visited the group and talked about a program called NEST. And what it is, it's kind of similar to the mentor program that Big Brothers and Big Sisters does, but that is where you get a one-on-one approach to dealing with a youth that needs some mentoring or needs some guidance. This program is where there are teams of people that come together and are assigned a boy, a girl that has been through the court system that needs the guidance. And it allows citizens to do this not as intense with their time, but it's certainly well coordinated and needed. And I'm hoping that I believe he spoke to us about it in the past, but it's really getting momentum now, especially with summertime when we hear about a lot of youth activity that isn't as positive as we would like it to be. So these are programs that are available, and I do recommend that people contact his office and set up a team of friends that want to do something like this. And maybe the council wants to consider taking on a child, if possible, to also do this with, not everyone has a lot of time, and we're all busy, but this is a very valuable program that makes a big difference in a child's life. And really, that's a lot of what is going on with a child that acts out. So I just wanted to bring that up as an opportune time to discuss that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. Rich. I've been involved in some meetings about the NEST program as well and spoken to Judge Naaman about it, and it is growing. It is similar to the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, although in this approach there is a team aspect rather than just the one-on-one, so it gives the team the opportunity to work with the child that they are mentoring. So it's just another idea, another program that's out there. So there are a lot of programs. I know we've talked a lot of some of the problems that we have, but there are also a lot of good things that are in the community, a lot of programs that are available that everyone in this community has been working towards. So we just need to keep that in mind as well as we go forward. And Mr. Manzi, did you have one more thing you wanted to add?
I did. I just want to say, I don't think it's anyone's posture on this council to criticize or second guess the work of our police chief, our public safety director. I don't even remember hearing that from any commentary from any of my colleagues. I think what we've said pretty clear is that we support what they're doing and that it's in their capable, competent hands, and that we're going to work with them through facilitation from a legislative standpoint to give them what they need in order to provide the service and security that our citizens expect. I know that's my posture as a councilman for District 2, and I'm appreciative of them being so responsive when I call, when I get an inbox from a citizen on Facebook or a tweet relative to negative interaction with a citizen and some crime in District 2. They're always on the spot. And so my background is the church. I have a political science degree. I am by no means a police officer. I have been trained in that. And that's why we employ a professional, capable, competent staff to handle those endeavors. But however I can help a citizen connect with the police department, or however I can advocate on their behalf, I'm willing to do so. And I'll be tireless in that effort. So I'm appreciative. I don't take for granted the risk that they take on every day. And every raise that's been on this agenda, every equipment upgrade that's been on this agenda, every augmentation to make their ability to serve us be better, I have supported. And I'm on record saying we'll support. If it's on this agenda and it's for our first responders, I'm in. And I think this council has shown that over the years. But I'm also concerned when I hear from residents about some of the things that have been going on. And I'm expecting, and I believe that expectation will be met, that our police department, under the leadership of our Chief Baptiste, will be incredibly responsive. I have no reason to believe otherwise, and he's assured me of that, always been prompt in replying back. And so I think we have a very capable, competent law enforcement community, and I believe we support them 100% because they are the professionals. And as far as being underage and overcredited, if there's a youngster out there now who made the decision to drop out, we have the very first charter school in the state of Alabama right here in Mobile, the Excel Academy, run by the Mobile Area Education Foundation. You do not have to stay in the shape that you're in. You do not have to accept a second-class existence. You can go to that academy, and even if you're overaged and under-accredited, procure a state diploma that will allow you to open up doors to employment, further education, and any other thing that will make you a gainful citizen in our society. So there are no excuses. Not only does the public school system have a way, if that isn't convenient for you, go to the Excel Academy, run by the Mobile Area Education Foundation, the very first accredited charter school in the state of Alabama. And I'm going to be sending out information on that in my newsletter and on my Facebook, because however we can address, and I think it's incumbent upon us as we look at our budget, however we can help these social service agencies who are in the trenches, however we can help them with resources, I think it's incumbent upon us to consider that. Because all of that, I believe, is going to have to be a part of a holistic approach, along with our law enforcement, to stymie some of the uptick in crime that we're experiencing.
All right, Mr. Daves.
Thank you. And I would just like to piggyback on, again, what my colleagues have said. I think that the primary thing the city council can do to assist the police department is to support them and give them the tools they need to do their job. And we don't need to be, none of us are trained law enforcement officials, and we don't need to be over here saying, well, you need to do this or you need to do that. We need to give the professionals the tools they need in order to do their job. And I think this council has proved more than willing to do that. And I'll just mention two things. First of all, the body cams, but secondly, the police cruisers. When I was running for office 4 years ago, I rode around twice with police officers. First officer I rode around with was in a vehicle that had 186,000 miles on it, and the second vehicle I drove around in had about 136,000 miles on it. You know, every minute you were, especially if you had to increase speed, you were fearful the wheels were going to fall off. Half of the fleet was in the garage, And I believe, if I'm not incorrect, Chief, in this next fiscal year, we will purchase the last tranche of, I think it's 100 police cruisers, and then we will be set on replacing those cruisers. Each cruiser will be replaced once every 5 years, and so now all of this has been enabled in part because of other disciplines in the general fund. So we were able to take funds and put them to this purpose, which is very, very important. But I think that this council has demonstrated its willingness to give our police department and our first responders, all first responders, because we've been buying fire trucks. And anyway, I think we've demonstrated our ability to make the hard decisions it takes to give the public safety officials the tools they need to do their job, and I certainly think we'll continue to do that.
All right, and just to wrap things up, Chief, we thank you for being here. This has been quite an interesting meeting for our Officer of the Month, so I'm sure you've heard a lot today, but there is no doubt you have our full support for anything you need and everything you do, so do not doubt that. We're in full support of anything our public safety officers need to do their job. So with that, we just thank you for your service, and we will work with you, do whatever needs to be done. And thank you for making the time that you do to come to all of our meetings. I don't know when you get to see your family. All right, unless there are any other announcements at this point, all right, we are adjourned.